into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Yeah, look at that. Welcome to the 11/22/63 after show here on AfterBuzz TV. We've listened to a little And Then He Kissed Me. No clothespin songs that I guess we could play for this episode, right?
No clothespin song.
Oh my gosh, the clothespin.
So much to get into this episode about 11/22/63 as well. We're talking about clothespins. We'll find out what all that is about in a little bit. I'm Frank Moran. I'm one of your hosts here. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie, and I'm joined by the dynamic duo here at the other side of the table here. First up, we have Marielou Mandl.
Hey guys, Marielou Mandl here. You can find me on all social media at Marielou Mandl.
Michael Clouse. You can follow me on Instagram at The Only MC, on Twitter at Michael Clouse TV.
The only MC.
The only one. We discussed this in the first show that Frank and I did together, and I originally wanted the real MC, and it was taken. So I had to settle for the only MC.
I think it's even better.
Really?
No, because like somebody else is like, well, I'm an MC. You're like, nope, I'm the only one.
The only.
Yeah, sorry.
The only MC.
Because I said it's on the internet. It's true.
That's right. Keep stepping, guys. Keep stepping. Find yourself another handle. All right, so today we're talking about 11/22/63, episode 4, Heart of Texas.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we learned a lot about the characters, and it's good and bad in this episode. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of times where I got angry at characters, or like thinking thoughts about characters, and I'm like, and like, oh, what do I think? What do I not think? So I really actually enjoyed this episode for the character references.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marielou, we didn't have a chance to have you with us last week, so just to catch up, how are you enjoying the series so far?
I like it a lot, and I actually, the last 2 episodes binged together yesterday because I wasn't able to watch that other one last week. And the 3rd episode I liked a lot. I liked his reaction and seeing how he and his little friend, the sidekick, develop.
Bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is that the episode where they get to the little town and they bring him to the brothel?
Yeah.
Yes.
And little man can't handle himself.
No.
Just stop. Just shut your face. Just shut your face.
Yeah.
I was like, kill him, drop him, get rid of him. He's over. Like, you're compromising the situation. I would have like knocked him over the head and be like, you're crazy. I don't know you.
Yeah. He's in a tough situation. Of
Yeah.
like, do you bring him? I mean, obviously he knows. Mm-hmm. Do you bring him along? Do you not bring him along?
Yeah.
Although, certainly, the ramblings of a madman, it could be seen as, because if you were to go to any authorities and stuff, this guy time traveled from 2016, and he's here to stop the assassination of President Kennedy. I mean, who would kind of believe him right off the bat?
And they're like,
It's
Kennedy's
true.
not the president.
No, that's true. I mean, I guess unless he had like the little tattered sports book there with all the sports, maybe
Yeah.
that could be a
That
little.
could
Yeah,
be
he did
proof.
have. He said he had all those newspaper clippings. Mm-hmm. So he did have things that could, maybe look a little sketchy.
Yeah.
Well, we start off the episode here. We go back to Lee Harvey Oswald, right there, just sitting in his kitchen there in his little apartment there, and he's just timing himself as he's assembling his little bolt-action rifle. Mm-hmm. And you really just feel like he's just talking to himself as he's doing that, like, you're a Marine, you can do this, get it together.
Do you feel like this was more radical or more of him just as a Marine, just trying to maintain his skills and be able to like prove that he can do it? I was conflicted a little bit. I feel like
for him, I think it's more of like a meditation exercise. Like this is like what he does to calm himself down. You know, like I need to feel centered, so I'm going to do some gun drills.
Yeah, I didn't see it as like a majorly radical, like trying to. I mean, we talked about this last week. They felt like it was almost a lot of his anger issues were showing up in the last episode, and I didn't feel like this was in addition to that. Or this really made me encourage of like, oh, he's obviously the one who did it. Look at him play with these guns. Look at he's all about guns. I felt like it was more of just like what you're saying, something that he does just to kind of calm himself down or to take out some stress, and just like it's a Marine habit.
I almost
think, Frank?
saw it as a way of psyching himself up, because you see he starts to try to initiate some stuff in this episode too. And I feel like he knows he's got something coming up, and he's like, I can rely on that security. I'm a Marine. I've been trained. I can do this stuff. Let me just keep doing this and kind of psych myself for what's coming up ahead for me. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
he does that, and then we get a little scene where the baby's crying. We get a little tender moment with Lee Harvey Oswald, and it's one of those things that I often forget that he does have a daughter, and who knows exactly. I didn't do my research on Lee Harvey Oswald, so in terms of what happened to his daughter and stuff, I don't know exactly what happens after the assassination of Kennedy and everything, whatever became of her. But it is interesting to see. You only think of Oswald and just that, defected to Russia, assassinated Kennedy, but you realize, he was also he had a daughter.
Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a wife. So.
yeah, but their relationship, man, not the best. Especially right after that, he comes downstairs to get the photo, the infamous photo with him holding the gun with the newspaper.
Yeah.
And she's
him
laughing.
with the quote, "I'm going to hunt fascists."
Yeah, and it was interesting to look at George's face on there because he's there in the backyard too with Marina while they're getting ready to take that photo, and just seeing his face, how he was taking that comment from Lee Harvey, what he wanted to do. I couldn't quite tell if he's like, all right, that's cool. Yes, you're the kind of guy I want to do this.
Like they got him on track.
Yeah.
If that is the way that they're going with it.
That's the thing is, in order to, obviously what it's trying to make you think is if, George is kind of leading him, you have to have someone radical enough to want to do it. And it's controlling that and keeping him on the line that you want. Otherwise, he could get off the line and who knows what could happen. He could, go off with a gun on anybody.
Yep.
So it's controlling that radicalism almost.
Yeah, and then riling him up and directing it where they want. It's, like you have this weapon that could point in any direction, and you're just trying to be like, well, look at this. Wouldn't this be a good thing to do?
Yeah, and so we find since last episode, Jake and Billy have moved into an apartment underneath the Oswalds there. So now they've got a little different vantage point since their fiasco of last week, getting all their recording equipment stolen and everything.
Yeah, so they have two homes now, right? They have the one in Jody, and they still have the one in Dallas.
Yes.
Because we see that a lot later. And I was like, well, where are they living? But yeah, so they have the two homes now.
Yeah, so I assume, I guess they moved back to Dallas then at that point, right? So that's where, Lee Harvey was. So, so I guess they have a new place they could live underneath them, and it wasn't so weird.
Yeah, well, they were still in Jody, I think, with Lee Harvey, but they also had the place in Dallas. The home was in Dallas.
No, I think the house is in Jody, because isn't that
where he teaches?
The teacher had a house for rent. So that's like his address with the school.
Oh, okay.
Because the
that's
principal
right. Yeah, that's right.
dropped him off there.
That's right. Yeah.
When they picked them up from the whorehouse.
That's right.
Well, and then we also just get a little shades there. The Billy looking out the window, looking at Marina, which is going to kind of play a little bit later in.
Trouble.
Reiterate again. I hate Billy. I hate him. I hate his character, and it's proven here again when literally the quote, they have no idea who we are, let's keep it that way. 2 seconds later, Billy stares at the wife out the window and waves at her.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Anger. One of the first things, anger. Hate Billy.
Yeah, I can't stand him. I'm like, bro, you like, I was just like, kill him. James Franco, just kill him.
Just get him out of the picture.
Just be done with him.
He's a
You're gonna go back to you're gonna go back to the time portal.
Yeah.
It's all gonna get erased.
Yeah, just kill him. Get the information you need. Come back and like just don't ever talk to him.
He's a simple man from Kentucky that is in way over his head, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I just don't like him. I just don't like him.
Well, while Billy is looking at Marina, we've got Jake back at school, still making eyes, and they're certainly growing a nice relationship there with Sadie Dunhill.
For another character you really like.
Yes, we'll get into that right now. What are your thoughts on Sadie?
Something's not right there because okay, so she's got her like secret history that we don't quite know why she, what this divorce is. Like we find out later, there's something with the clothespin. We'll get there, I'm sure. But when whenever she shows up, and I get that she needed to keep the divorce thing a secret. When she was like, "There's no husband," right? Because it's different for girls or it's different for divorcees. But there's a way that she delivered it that made me. I'm like, there's bigger things hiding there, or she's just stupid.
Maybe, yeah. The way that she talks, I can't tell if she is just a little bit on the ditzy side or if she is conniving and just not pure and honest. Either way, I don't like it. The way that she talks, the way that she just handles herself, I just can't trust her.
Really? Because I'm looking at her, the way that she's doing her response, like last episode about like, I'm not a divorcee. I've never been married. It's just when we find out the stuff this episode, I think she's embarrassed about that. And the fact that her husband doesn't want to give her that divorce. So she's actually kind of hiding out from her husband. It's not necessarily, it wasn't amicable at all.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it more as that as opposed to her being some kind of conniving person with even a deeper secret than that.
Right. Well, because then that might be what we feel she's hiding is this. It's the shamefulness of that scenario. So, you know, that layer of secrecy. Maybe there isn't something deeper. That's the secret that she feels like she's hiding because it's that shame.
I still look at it too of like time pushing back, and I feel that time is using her. So maybe I'm unfairly judging her, thinking that time is using her to get to Jake.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like her, but I just feel like something bad is going to happen because of her.
But and then to Jake, why are you getting involved? Jake, keep it in your pants.
Man, he's thinking with the wrong head.
Listen. I was so mad. I was like, they're just failing. It's all of the time travel fails.
This
That's
is probably
true,
a
of
little
course.
more of a man question. Do you find Sadie attractive in general?
I do.
Would you date a woman like Sadie?
Yeah, I would. Clearly you would not.
No.
No. And, but she plays the piano.
She's-
Come on, that's delightful.
She just, once again, there's something off.
He's like, absolutely
There's
not.
something off. She's pretty, don't get me wrong. She's a very pretty woman. But
Well, it's easier, I think, to assume that there's more going on to other people because we're following Jake and we know his story. He's somebody that's
true.
coming from the future with a huge plan. So it's easy to look into every other people and suspect them of deeper motives when it could just be simple interpersonal, something as simple as like you're hiding out from your husband because you're ashamed of what happened in your marriage, not necessarily a larger conspiracy. And I feel like even Jake falls into that too, where he thinks that everything around that is connected to the Kennedy assassination and people trying to stop it, when in actuality it's not. It's just a simple person of a husband that does not want to let go of his wife, a very controlling husband.
And it could just be, I mean, in the 60s, everyone's more innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, in general.
No, very true. I mean, because
So-
they certainly are willing to buy a lot of what Jake is telling him this episode.
Yeah.
Which, so as they share a little smooch there in this room, thinking that everything is safe and clear, and the principal busts him and talks to Jake and says, hey, there's different standards here between men and women. Kind of laying out, and it's like everybody's looking at you, and the women, a lot of women look up here to Mrs. Dunham. We don't want anything to happen to her. So if you really care about her, you got to put her first.
And take her away to a cottage.
To a little bungalow.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And then, so whenever he gave him the card for the bungalow, I was like, who are you hiding away with? Like, why do you have this card?
Yeah.
You know who he's
Yep.
hiding it with.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Got to keep it secret. Got to keep it on the DL.
Majorly in the DL.
Yes.
I was like, get it.
That's.
Ugh.
And then, but as we do that, we see Jake walk into his car, and this is our first suspicion that something else is at foot because we see somebody watching Jake go to his
Yeah.
car. And now, when you first see that side, we certainly know what happens at the end of it. But when you first see that initial shot, what are you suspecting at that point?
I thought it was the guy from the beginning. The creepy guy who he
Creepy
bumps
hobo?
into. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy with the yellow card in his hat.
Yeah.
I did not think it was the husband.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know if I didn't think it was the husband at first, but but I also didn't think it was like the CIA either. 'Cause that would just seem so
Yeah,
like
no.
how would they know?
Too early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't think it was the CIA. I thought it was like the past, which
It
is
will be
what I think that
interesting.
guy is the past.
It will be interesting to see how much the CIA get involved because I mean this episode started out in was it March 25th of '63?
Yes.
So we're about 7 months away. So and I think they jumped forward. It seemed a little bit here because I don't think the last episode was in '63. I think it still ended in '62.
Yeah, I feel like they jumped about a year maybe of just enough time for him to have established a life
yeah.
and like become part of the community there.
Well, they jumped last episode like a year and a half. They jumped until like the middle, I think, to end of '62.
Okay.
Probably like the fall of '62. So I think they jumped forward another 6 months though.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean we're only about a month out since supposedly somebody makes the assassination attempt on General Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so Jake gets back to the apartment, sees Billy, and he's all excited because he's been listening in on the recording equipment there,
Yeah.
and he feels like he's got something right here. And there's a conversation between George and Oswald. He's like, "Oh, this is it. This is it. We figure out that this could be the connection right there. There's going to be a meeting going on tonight. This could be what's happening. We got to find out if the CIA leads Harvey Oswald to this, or is it something that Harvey Oswald is doing on his own?"
Saying that he has some powerful friends. He wants to introduce him. Yeah, it's really getting into the thick of the plot, which is good.
But then before they can make any other conclusions or suspicions, they get a little knock on the door, and it's Miss Mimi. Everybody's following Jake this episode.
Mimi.
Yes, she comes a calling to figure out, well, Jake, what's going on? Because you are not being honest with all of us.
Your last name is not what you're saying it is.
Yes, and finally, he doesn't have a vaccination record, which is required at that time for all school teachers. finds out that he looks down for his old address in Kentucky, finds out that he used another name when he was there at that time when he felt like it, and wants to know, are you being honest with us? Mm-hmm. And the story that Jake tells them.
Is that from a movie?
That's from The Godfather.
Okay.
2? Godfather.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
I figured it had to be.
Yeah.
With Fredo and Michael. So Michael Al Pacino, Fredo is his brother. It's like, I knew it was you, and he gives him the big double kiss. So he just starts telling the plot of The Godfather.
And she's like, what's the mafia?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, when the mafia, that was around, that was considered the mafia back
It might
then.
have been around, but not known.
Very true. But so it tells Miss Mimi that he was an FBI informant and he's in the witness protection program. And so he saw the mafia, they saw Michael kill his brother Fredo, and he came forward with that information. And now they've given him a new identity and put him there in Jody because nobody will ever find him.
Who would search in Jody?
Because they think he was worried in case they wanted to pull him back in. Another reference from Godfather 3. Every time I'm out, they pull me back in. I'm like, oh, man.
That's so great.
That's actually the second time, too, that he gets busted for thinking that something is known. He had a Beatles reference earlier with Sadie when they were at the piano, and the Beatles were not out yet. I mean, majorly.
Yeah, but I feel like he knew that. He sang a song that he knew it was catchy, but it hadn't been out yet. Don't you think?
Well, then she asked him who it was by, and he said, "Oh, it's Ringo, Paul, George, and
Yeah, Bright Catches Me.
yeah." And she was like, "Who is that? Like your friends?
His imaginary
Like,
friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you're weird, Jake.
Didn't I bring that up last week with doing the whole Marty McFly thing, where he sings?
Oh yes, we did. Yeah, where he's gonna sing. Johnny Be Good.
Bad, or Johnny Be Good.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Oh, when they got the dance?
Yep. So he takes the Beatles credit, takes it away, writes their own song. Yes. Why not? Why not? If you were in 63, why don't you just write all the Beatles songs and become famous on your own?
It's just like Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah. Exactly. Just like Greg Robinson.
And I feel it foreshadows a little bit now, looking back and saying, Mimi buys this story, I think, when she probably shouldn't. But it makes sense knowing that she has secrets of her own that she's now trying to keep. Mm-hmm. So that she would buy something like this. Because his story was not that convincing.
No.
The way his delivery was not that convincing.
Well, and that's where I like with her response that she's like, well, if you care about somebody, like, I'm not going to say anything, but if you care about somebody, then you should let them know. And because if you don't, you take away their dignity.
That's right. And for some people, all they have is their dignity. I thought that was a great line.
Yeah.
Good line.
I loved it. And I really like his relationship with Miss Mimi.
Definitely.
Like defending her at the gas station and like offering her a cup of coffee. When people are like, what? Like, just like any normal person.
Yeah, and I feel like her having that interaction with Jake is the reason that, as she says to Jake, she hasn't come forward to the principal about this information. And I feel like it's those moments where she's seen Jake like that she knows that he's not completely a duplicitous person, where he doesn't have completely evil in his heart. So that's probably why she's wanted to come to Jake and talk to him first before she does anything else.
But we also see her, she's really like sweaty and coughing, and that's the first little nuggets that we get that something's not right with her.
Absolutely, yeah. And I do like how she excuses Billy out of the room there, too. Like, Billy. Yeah.
Appreciate your interest.
She feels the same about Billy, which is like, get out of here.
But Jake takes Miss Mimi's words to heart and leaves a little message there for Miss Dunhill, for Sadie, and says, hey, why don't you meet me at the Great Bungalow, guys? Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, I got something important to tell you. And so we get, she's all excited. Yeah, she shows up there, and they have a little romantic dance. And
she's very forward.
She does not pussyfoot around. Yeah,
I thought he played it pretty well. Like, I just want to get to know you. I don't even know your middle name.
Well, he's from 2016, where you get Tinder. You just like
yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, somebody's gonna take her shirt off. But I have to say that scene bothered me because everything was so. Can we talk about this thing? And I was like, James Franco School of Acting, put your words together. Just make a sentence. Can we not like break everything apart?
Yeah, and by the time when you see her actually take off her jacket, you're like, you don't need to, just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Jake, just relax. Stop talking now at this point.
Do you think things like this actually happened in the early 60s? Or is this just like a 2016? Because this is obviously a very 2016 scene of like, do people go to a cabin or something like that and just immediately get it on? Do you feel like things like this happen in the 60s, or we think of the 60s as more innocent? I just don't know.
I think that the innocence was more how like the media wanted the 60s to be, right? But humans are still humans. And like, you know, I always hear stories about like, oh, everybody thought we were innocent, but we weren't, kind of thing. And poor girl hadn't been laid like her entire marriage.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Yeah.
You know,
not in any sort of loving way, for sure.
You know, so
No.
this is a new experience for her.
Yes.
It's exciting for her. So I could see her being forward. She already feels safe with him. And there's candles everywhere. Like, it's like disgustingly romantic. You know, so.
The record.
Well, and even last week when they had that kiss right there in the room, and she's like, "There's no reason for us to delay this or wait around, right?" I mean, she was even back from then. She was like, "Yeah, well, why do we got to wait? We don't need to.
Yeah.
We know what's going on."
You don't have a clothespin, by the way, do you? Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
No clothespins? Great. Okay.
And while they start making out, though, we see again somebody watching from the window, and at that point, that's when I started suspecting the husband.
Do you?
At that point,
Okay.
yeah.
Good
I
for
couldn't
you.
see anybody else that would want to keep following him to all those points that would have some sort of interest in that.
But he doesn't think it's the husband. He thinks it's the CIA.
No, because when he wakes up in the morning and he's about to tell her, I feel like he was about to tell her. I don't know. Do you think he was going to tell her the truth or just some version
I
of
think
the
he was going
truth?
to tell her the truth.
I think he was going to tell her.
I think he was going to spill it.
Yeah, because as much as she was all like, "Hey, I'm ready to go for it," like this, the next morning after you sleep together, things changed, and she was all of a sudden like, "I really don't know much about you. Why are you so, not willing to share anything about your past?"
Hey, you never tell childhood stories.
Which I don't know why you couldn't. I mean, I think you could easily tell a childhood story without tipping the
Yeah.
hand that you're from the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, to leave out the Game Boy.
Yeah.
But as he's about to tell her, he looks and sees this envelope there on this little bench and realizes, wait, that wasn't here when we got here, which that's creepy. That somebody just, I guess in the 60s, nobody really locks their doors. Everybody got more trusting, so you could easily walk into places.
I think he slid it under the door.
It was on a table.
Yeah. So
Like, the guy came
no,
in.
it was on the floor.
Was it?
it was on a bench. There's like some little bench right there next to the bed, and it was sitting on top of that.
That's how I remember it was
Really?
on.
Yeah.
See, I thought I saw it on the floor.
So it was, the boy somebody broke his way in.
Well,
Who
he
we gonna
had
find?
to take the photos, go down to the store, get it
Yes.
developed.
That's not a
Yep.
that's
Come
not a
back.
2-second thing.
And the person at the store probably knows them, like recognize them because it's a small town.
Yeah.
And is like, all right, why do you have these photos? Like, I want to follow that person's day. Like,
No, that's very true. Because I mean, I had to probably pull an all-nighter because I mean that was all happening overnight. Who's staying at a photo lab back in
Yeah.
the '60s that late at night? I think he had to call in a few favors to
Yeah.
make this happen here.
Yeah.
But he looks at the photos and immediately thinks, "Yeah, you're right. It's the CIA. The CIA is out to get us. They're pushing back now. They know we're getting on them."
CIA
too
or
close.
time or something.
Yeah, which seemed to me such a. I don't know. That seemed like a drastic leap for me to be thinking, because even then I knew for sure it was not the CIA that was getting involved with this.
But if you're in that situation, you mean you're actually what's the word I'm looking for? Worried, but on edge.
and
I
he's
forget
got
the
a
actual
singular
word.
mission, so he can only
Yeah.
feel that that's what's going to come at him. It's like the CIA or time. He doesn't think anything else is coming at him.
No.
He's moving along in life.
Yeah. So he goes back to the apartment there, runs into Billy, and they have an argument about this. Like, the CIA is pushing back. They're nowhere on here. We just need to get a little bit more information. And Billy's like, why don't you just get rid of Sadie? Just don't break up with her. Don't get her
rid
involved.
of Billy.
That's true. It's in it at that point I was like, I'm gonna give him Billy a hard time, but also not Franco, but Jake, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, you're talking about Billy with Lee Harvey Oswald's wife. Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
almost the same thing.
Yeah.
the only difference is that she's more directly connected to
Very
what's
much
happening.
so.
I mean,
Very
that's
much
even
so.
Sadie's not, but that still doesn't feel like, Jake, you can't just sit there and say like, hey, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Billy, you stop doing that. So yeah, but I feel like I was waiting really for Billy to really call him out on that, and that never quite happened. But so they have a little conversation there, and and then we find out that there's a meeting going on, and they need to go to this meeting. So Oswald and George are going to be going to a meeting, and they got to follow them to figure it out. And so they go to this establishment there with the use of the code word candy bar.
Candy bar.
Yeah, and
A lot of sweets inside.
to Billy's credit, he thinks this is a dumb idea. He does, which I'll give it up. The first time Billy was smarter than Jake in this whole thing.
It's true.
I'll give it him for that. But Jake just gets him in like, oh, if you want to be out here with all the babies, you can stay here. So they go in and they find out it's not really some kind of secret espionage meeting or anything like that. It's just a cat house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to find that scene was just, I don't know. Ugh, oof, that was a little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not really enjoying that.
I thought it was pretty funny though when what is he? And what type of person is your friend into? Oh, he's broke.
He's broke.
He's broke. He's waiting here right now.
And he's like, I'm not broke.
I'm not broke.
That's like,
That poor kid.
but they find the most drunk, tipsy lady of the night there to take him upstairs. And
Lady of the night. I like that.
Lady of the night, yes. To take him upstairs, and he's looking. Jake is basically just looking at all the rooms, which is interesting that you're going to be doing these things that you don't want anyone else to know about, but we're just keeping an open door policy. Everybody's cool just keeping the doors open. That seemed weird to me. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to be with a lady, then just close the door and let your stuff go off. But everybody's just walking by and he can look into every room, like, seeing what's happening. And he comes across Oswald and George in their room, and you see, like, Oswald does not seem into this at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He's focused.
Yeah, which is interesting because you think it's going to be one thing, and I feel like they're kind of towing that line with Oswald, like either trying to paint him, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, because they don't want you to jump to any conclusions, I guess, and what Oswald's true motives are at this point. It seems like, but they come across him, and Jake wants to just stay there, and his gal pal's like, no, oh, that's weird. You don't do that kind of stuff here. No, you're with me. And then all of a sudden there's a raid. Which I forgot, man. Boy, raids in cat houses. Boy, look at that. I forgot those days of the raids, huh?
Yeah.
Like Animal House. I think, from Animal House, maybe you do like a little raid or something?
I think so. I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
The way you
Revenge of
said
the
that.
Nerds, they do the panty raid.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Yeah, panty raid. That's right.
The way that you said that, you're like, yeah, guys, remember when there were cat house
Remember when-
raids?
yeah,
And I was
remember
like,
that-
how many of those do you
Yes.
recall?
Come on, guys. Let's go back.
What kind of memories do you want to share over there?
Guys, I got a time portal. I want to take you over to my restaurant.
Let's go.
It goes only to a cat house in 1963. It's
But
really
there's
depressing.
a raid like 5 minutes later,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can move fast.
You always get arrested, and you always that's been in the drunk tank. But after that, you're in 1963, and it's kind of cool. So who bails them out the next day? But Deke, the principal, which that's got to be a tough call to make. But it makes sense because I don't know who else Jake would call.
Yeah. You can't have Sadie finding out.
Yeah,
I was surprised he didn't get fired, though. I mean, I feel like, but once again, it goes back to the fact that the principal has his own secrets and wants to protect those. And so, I mean, he's kind of a little more lenient on the fact that Jake has some secrets.
Yeah, and it was interesting, though, when he says, Jake, I didn't think you'd do something like this. Billy, I could see. And I was like, what? And it makes me interested to see, because we kind of jumped almost 3 years since when they first got to Jody and up till now. So certainly Billy is show the principal that he's not the most trustworthy kind of guy. So it would have been interesting to see some of those points where the principal's like, what is with your brother? And so Deke drives Billy back home and says, no, Jake, you're not getting out. You're going to come with me to school. Sorry, you got to reap what you sow. No changing your shirt, no getting anything else. You're going right to school.
How does he not have a belt?
Do they take that from you in prison or jail so you don't hang yourself? Isn't that? I mean, but I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
but
in the
you
60s.
get it when you get out.
Yeah,
though.
you should
like,
get
all
your-
your
Yeah,
stuff.
I was like, why does he not have these things?
Yeah, and that's like legit part of the dress code for
That
the teachers was they had to wear a belt.
Yeah, and he was wearing a tie when he came into the cat house, right? So yeah, you would think they'd give him back his stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting, but they did. I guess the cops like to keep ties and belts back then, just
Put 'em on the
freshen up the
wall.
wardrobe. I was like, hey, I got a big day coming out. This tie looks good on me. I think I'm gonna keep that.
But that's it, and that's where was that earlier when the principal got busted with Mimi?
No, that's exactly when that happens when they walk in.
Yeah.
And Jake looks in the window and sees Mimi coughing, and the principal kind of comforting her.
Consoles her, and then they look real guilty.
Yeah, and at that moment you're like, because you thought they had a really close friendship from the last episode, with the way they talked. But this one, you really see like, all right, it's more than just a friendship.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. That why he would have the card for the bungalow.
Yep.
It's like, all right, yeah, we know the principal's
You got to do
going.
what's right you got to protect the person that you care about. So knowing that if that's found out, right, that if their affair is found out,
Yep.
like she's going to get fired, she's going to get it's just going to be repercussions everywhere, but it won't affect him the same way, because it's different,
Very true.
Yeah.
and he's looking out for her.
Good man.
Aw.
Deke's a good man.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with him.
He just seems like a very straightforward. He's a straight shooter. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's appreciated.
Definitely.
Love the straight shooters.
Somebody that's not necessarily a straight shooter, though, as Jake is watching that happen, he does look around and sees Miss Sadie's office there, her schoolroom, and sees somebody in there talking to Sadie. Turns out that it's her ex-husband.
Which did Sadie reveal to Mimi about her ex? Because Mimi knew, but when they first hired, so obviously something happened over the past year or whatever, 6 months, that Mimi was actually, or that Sadie was actually at the school. Because Mimi knew about the ex.
I feel like she
'Cause
does, and she's good at keeping secrets, of course.
Yeah. Because Jake said, is that her ex? And he was like, and Mimi said, kind of brushed it off.
It's not your business.
Yeah. Whereas, obviously, when Sadie first got to the school, they really tried to hush that. So I was like, obviously, teachers talk.
Was there a whole other scene where Miss Mimi went over to Sadie's house and was like, "You're not being 100% with me."
You know what I mean?
She's like the muscle of the town.
yeah.
She's like, "Listen, I found out all your dirty secrets. I'm not gonna say anything, but you should tell people because of dignity."
I got all your dirty laundry here, and if you want me to air it.
And we find out, though, he leaves, and the ex-husband leaves, and then Sadie walks out, and we find out that he is not going to give her the divorce. Jake follows her outside and says, wants to have a talk with her. And he's not going to give you the divorce. I've been hiding from him. My mom told him where he could find me.
And here it comes.
Yes, and then here's the moment we've all been talking about, guys. We've been alluding to.
We don't get it. We don't get it.
There you go.
Oh,
Clothespin, everybody.
what does it mean? She put a hand.
He said he
she
was not.
closed her
They
eyes.
let it up to that, saying Sadie said he was not physical at all in the courtship, in the dating, and then the night of the marriage. He was like very ashamed and quiet almost, and had her close her eyes
Took her hand.
and put it on a clothespin.
What does it mean?
And she laughed. He did not like that. He hit her. She didn't know what was
very
going on.
abusive.
And then he forced himself on her.
Yes.
And then afterwards told her to wash her dirty hole. And she did not say anything because she mentioned that to her mom, and the mother said that a wife's job is to take care of her husband.
And I Googled, and it was hilarious because I Googled, clothespin, and the first thing that came up was an entire Reddit article of like people commenting and users saying, "What is this? Does anybody get this?" And the biggest thing I can come up with is saying something about like putting a clothespin on the thing like when they were younger in order to stop it. Like parents would do that sometimes to like stop the sexual nature of their kids.
So it could be that. As we had a little pre-show talk there about the clothespin, I thought it was a baby fetish, and that he's wearing a cloth diaper with clothespins that were holding it. And that's what he was doing. But let's go to our...
My theory is...
Yes,
What do we
James, we're
got?
about to go to you.
Possibly it's like Peter Pan and the thimble is the kiss. You know what I mean? Like in Peter Pan, they never kiss, but they think thimbles mean kissing. So maybe like that was like his way of being like, this is love. Or like, this is how we get children. Or like, who knows?
So does the
But, like,
clothespin represent
I don't know. Something.
Because at first I thought it was just a tiny penis reference. Which I just said that word. Yes, I did. But at first I just thought that, but then like the more talked about later, there was obviously something else to it.
I think
Yeah.
you have a good point with like parents back then, like doing things to curb sexual thoughts and things about children, especially in the 60s.
Yeah.
So like something like, oh, my mom put a clothespin on my thing so that it wouldn't grow.
Yeah, it says it to stop, obviously, blood flow, and to stop just the sexual nature almost.
But then we're also talking to a grown man. And why is he, as a grown man, still continuing to put a clothespin on himself? Like his mom isn't coming in and putting a clothespin on him.
But if he's always thought that's the way that he needs to be, like if you were taught your whole life, your pants are backwards.
And then you always put, yeah.
Like
Like
who
crisscross.
knows?
Like
Yeah, I
crisscross,
guess.
yeah, that's what
That's
happened to them.
happened to them.
Yes.
And then look how they turned out.
Oh, that's true.
Oh.
All right. Well, I think for next episode, Michael and I'll do some research. We're gonna each wear a clothespin for a week.
No,
So we can report.
No. That's all you, my friend.
Hashtag clothespin test. Come on, what? We're not doing that.
We're not getting that trending.
What if there are
everybody.
Pop-Tarts on the line, Michael?
Yeah.
Nope.
There you go.
It's,
Come on, whoever goes the longest there,
lost.
the loser.
I lost. You win. Congratulations.
Dun, dun, dun,
There you go.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
No,
I feel like it's what you found.
The more that I'm reading is that it says what it is. It's a literal reference to stop from getting aroused.
Which would be why he was never really sexual with her and never tried anything with her, because he's doing everything he can to not get aroused, because that has been suppressed forever.
Yeah.
And now he's at the point where he's like, oh, he's married. He's nervous. He doesn't know what to do here, because at that point he's probably still a virgin, and puts her hand on the clothespin, expecting
Her to go like, oh, I know what this is all about.
Yeah.
Because I did, well, family taught me about this too. Nope. You're just
Yeah.
a basket case there.
because it's like a chastity belt, I guess, and like maybe your wife
Yeah.
is the one that's supposed to, unlock it.
That's
Yeah.
got to be the worst. Oh. Oh.
It was like every day he's like getting ready. He's like, all right, brush my hair, shave my face, pin my penis. Like, just part of the routine.
We've all been there, right? Yep.
Yes.
So Sadie feels that by revealing this to Jake, she's kind of ruined everything between them, and so she just takes off. And Jake goes back in the school and runs into Billy, and Billy's all excited, like, why are you here at the school? First off, Deke would not be too thrilled with you being here. But he says, oh, no, well, this is great. There was supposed to be a meeting that's supposed to be happening at 4 o'clock. Lee doesn't want to do it, but George is really insistent that they meet these people. So they decide to split up, and Billy's going to follow Lee, and Jake's going to follow George. So George follows, Jake follows George all the way through Dallas. They end up at some shipping kind of factory, kind of plant or something.
Yeah. Freight something.
Yeah, and he's trying to listen to the conversation, but again, it's one of those from the first episode where we see time pushing back.
You got the
All
dog.
the car, sounds of the cars going by, just like the guy moving the trash can. All these little sounds that are delaying him from being able to hear exactly what's being said in this conversation. So when the dog starts barking, they move inside, and as he walks back to his car, boom, he runs into Sadie's ex-husband, Johnny. Played by T.R. Knight there from Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen him around, so...
And they obviously get in a very pretty heated conversation.
Yeah.
Sadie's husband, he thinks that he's kind of the big dog on campus, and I'll do this and and James Franco, kind of like what he did with the gas station attendant. Was that 2 episodes ago or last episode?
Last episode.
Was that last episode?
Yeah.
I mean,
Laid into him.
laid into him, and I mean he's a pretty tall stature guy, so it helps.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what Johnny was expecting that conversation to go with somebody who would be originally from the 60s. But it'd be a little bit more polite. You wouldn't talk about some of those things like that. But with Jake being from 2016...
Dropping some language and...
Yeah. And profanity plus the clothespin talk. It's like...
Can't we do this without some profanity? Nope.
Absolutely not. That is not going down. So yeah, he just basically says, you do that, I'm going to tell everybody about the clothespin story. It's a small town. Everybody talks. And Johnny just says, all right, you two deserve each other. And then he takes off.
Yep.
Yeah, which I was concerned about how Jake responded there without any consideration of what the repercussions would be for Sadie. Like, knowing that
Very
they are
true.
married, and it is like in that time, it's like an ownership situation. Like, what is going to happen to her? But he probably is like, oh, I'll just kill him.
No, that's why Jake's always good. Now that he's killed once, he's got no problems with killing again.
Yeah, that's where he's like, oh, all right, fine, I'll just kill
Or I'm
him.
sure being in that situation where well, I guess depending on if he thinks he's going to stay or not stay and go back, your repercussions, you're not thinking about them as much. They're not long-term repercussions. There's only short-term repercussions.
No, and I guess maybe you're thinking in terms of 2016 repercussions as opposed to what the 63 repercussions would be and what society was like at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I don't think he has his mind right for those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he had another point. Oh, yeah, did you think Jake was wondering what the clothespin thing was? Was he like, the fuck? Yeah.
I didn't know. That's true because Jake doesn't have Reddit to go and look at and find out an explanation for that back then.
Threw away the iPhone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Can't go on that.
Nope.
Which, even though he had service to watch that video with the bird.
So while Jake is trying to figure that out, though, he does go over to Sadie's house with some candy and some flowers, and just really says, "Hey, love is not like flowers and art. It's messy." But he considers her a wonder.
And he has his single tear.
Yeah, he dropped that tear, didn't he?
Tear. I was like, oh, James Franco School of Acting.
Did that work for you though? If
Nope.
you were Sadie with it and you saw him just like throw out that tear, would you be like, "Oh yes, I love
Flowers and
No,
chocolate.
I'd be like, did you
and-
put my, like, what did you...
Oh, you're so
No.
jaded, Marielou.
A
Come
little
on.
bit.
Come on. Oh, look at that. But then also Jake goes back to see Dallas, and he sees Billy, who's also having his little troubles with the heart there. He's been listening. First, he listens in on Marina and Lee get down. Listens to that, not thrilled about that. But after a couple hours, it's all been arguments.
Very abuse. You can tell he's hitting her.
And he wants to go. Luckily, Jake comes back at that minute and stops him. It's like, we can't get involved in these people's lives. Billy's not thrilled about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because obviously Billy thinks that he's, saving her, but he's also, could be messing with the entire plot line. Mm-hmm. So it's a tough call. On one hand, I do side with Billy because could you stop a smaller action, something bad, but you don't want to interfere with the bigger one.
No, it's very true. I mean, and Billy doesn't even just stop there. He still sneaks out and goes out back and talks to Marina. She's,
they like cuddle.
Yeah, gives her some comfort right there, which is not going to help Billy at all. That's only going to get him sucked in worse than he should be.
And we have 7 months.
Yes,
Come
on, Billy, get it together. But then we find out that when Jake goes back to school the next day, Miss Mimi's out sick, and Sadie finds a little envelope in her drawer, in her little cube, little hole there, little wall
cubby?
hole, little cubby, yeah, felt a wall hole. Sure, that's gross.
Clean your dirty wall hole.
But it's with the note saying he's not who you think he is, and it's the signed divorce papers from Johnny. Which I was surprised that it happened that fast. I didn't think he was actually just going to sign the divorce papers. I thought it would always be something he would just.
There's no way he's gone.
No, he's not gone.
No. And then, so it seems like things are going Jake's way, though, because then he goes back.
Non-assassination, who's the president, ripple effect. That's a huge ripple effect that you would have to explain. I don't almost have to be like a
he
whole
wouldn't go
half.
back
That would
to
be
double
a
check.
whole half episode at least of like, what are you going back to?
Yeah.
I would feel, my guess is that he's not going to be able to save Kennedy, of course, but he's going to take Sadie back with him to the present. Because if he doesn't do that, then he's going to constantly keep going back and again to try to fix.
I like that.
Or try to get her. So I feel like he's going to get her back to the present. That's my prediction there. Look at that.
Any other predictions, reach out to us. Twitter, Facebook,
Yes.
Instagram.
Let's continue the conversation. Make sure that Michael's doing the clothespin test the rest of this week there. Michael, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at TheOnlyMC, on Twitter at Michael Clouse TV. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, and I'm Marielou Mandl. You can find me on all social media at Marielou Mandl, and I'm in the middle of Marielou March Madness, releasing a video on YouTube every single day.
Day 8.
It's really hard, but follow me. You'll see the craziness.
And you'll see us, you see Michael and I tomorrow's episode, right? With
Yeah.
the Marielou drops there. So you can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie. Check me out with my improv team tonight, Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at IO West at 9:30 p.m. We'll see you next time. Get your clothespins out, everybody. Let's clamp on.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.